Hi everyone, my name is Michael Green. I am the owner and founder of Mathematic Couture. We have a shop on Etsy, and what we do is we take basic plain white picture frame mats like this and we wrap them with papers like this and turn them into beautiful looking decor like these examples here. Okay, so you can find us on Etsy. You can search for Mathematic, spelled M-A-T-M-A-T-M-A-T-I-C C-O-U-T-U-R-E. Again, M-A-T-M-A-T-I-C, Mathematic. Okay, so today I'm going to give you all a tutorial on how I make these hand-wrapped picture frame mats. So this is an 8x10 picture frame mat, and I use a size 12 by 12 sheet of scrapbook paper, and we are going to wrap it such that it's beautifully wrapped like this, well crafted. As you can see, everything looks nice. Corners are nice and cut clean. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. All right, so here we go. First step is just choose a paper or fabric of your liking, and I like to work from a size like this, 12 by 12, and we'll get started. So first things first is I like to measure and lay out where the mat is going to fit onto the paper, just centered right. So we're going to go ahead and measure it up. And we've had our shop on Etsy for about a year now. I started last year around this time, after my 46th birthday at the time. I'm a Libra, for those who follow and keep up with that kind of thing. So what I'm doing here is I'm just marking off the corners, just so when I apply the adhesive to the mat and then affix it to the paper, I've got an outline of where the mat should fit on the paper. And these marks I'm just making in pencil. You're not going to see it once you have the finished product, but just gives me a good frame of reference so I can make sure I lay the mat down centered and correctly the way I like to. Very detail oriented in that way. Some people may think it's particular, but that's just how I operate. Attention to the details. So right now I'm just applying some glue using my favorite glue. I don't know what it's called, this aqua light blue. You can get it from Michael's, you can get it from Hobby Lobby, you can get it online, on Amazon. On Amazon I find that it's like $3 more than if you purchase it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And it's cheaper at Hobby Lobby, so I like to go there. So now I'm just putting it down within the framework that I set with my pencil. Now I'm just laying it flat and applying a light kind of rub down, I call it. Massage it into the paper or the fabric. Just want to make sure it's laid smooth, and then I'll flip it over one time. Kind of smooth it out all over. Okay, so here, all right, so now you have an idea. All right, so we'll keep going with the next step. So the next step is to make two cuts. We're going to make two cuts and use a ruler to make those cuts. Let's get that out of here. I like to use one of these kind of heavy industrial metal rulers to line up straight across diagonally from corner to corner. And then make my cut diagonally. And I do it up against the ruler so I know I have a straight cut. So you'll see there, you can see I have one cut. All right, we're going to make a second cut. Opposite corners, corner to corner. And again, I'm sure there's other ways to do this, but this is This is my method, at least. Do try to be precise, so sometimes I just measure it up a couple of times. Sometimes I'll eyeball it like that. Okay, I think we're good here. So on paper we can just cut all the way across. Sometimes when you have fabric, you'll have to make a second cut. You'll be able to cut it halfway, and then you'll kind of have to do it the opposite direction for the opposite corner, just because the fabric will move after the first cut. So there we have it. Okay, so I have it in 4 kind of quadrants, if you will. And then we're just going to fold each of these back. And so before I was working on a cutting mat, 18 by 12 inch cutting mat, and now I just kind of like to put down a harder surface, because I'm going to apply some folds, and then we're going to apply some more glue to get this thing going. So I'm just folding back each of those quadrants. And then what I like to do is I like to kind of rub, if you can see that, I like to rub the edge so I know I'm going to trim the paper a little bit. I have a little bit of excess paper, so I like to trim the paper just so, like that. And I'll go all the way around, and I'll do that on each side. You might think this is tedious, but this is how I make each one of my mats. If cuts aren't clean, I'll just clean it up a little bit. With my, looks like a scalpel, I think they're calling it an Xacto knife. From an X. So now you can see that I've cut all 4 pieces. You can get a little glimpse. So now we're just going to glue it down all around. We'll clean up any little thing we need to. So I've just applied glue to the inside of the front part there, and I'm just going to fold it down. I like to flip it around and kind of do a reverse. I like to pull it against the mat board as opposed to just kind of laying it on, and then I like to smooth it out kind of like that with my hands. I just use my fingers. Make sure it lays nice and flat. Brush off any excess of the adhesive. It just comes off. I use a clear adhesive, so it's always pretty clean. But again, just me being detail oriented, so we'll do that all the way around. So let me know about any crafts you guys do. How I got into this? Well, big fan of Christmas present wrapping. Always have been, probably always will be. Something my mother taught me how to do many decades ago. Just always had a lot of joy opening presents and also wrapping them. So just doing that as neatly as possible with the cutting of the paper and the folds. Just making sure the presents were really nice and presentable and looking almost professionally wrapped is kind of how I learned to do Christmas presents. So I just had an idea come to me one day and looking at picture frames on my wall and said, you know what, like those plain white picture frame mats just aren't doing it for me. They're not doing my pictures justice. So just got me to thinking, how could I kind of upgrade my picture frame experience and not use those plain white mats that are pretty much always come with every picture frame. I'm sure they have them in different colors, but you know, colors are colors, and sure, you can always have those, but even more variety is kind of what I was looking for, something else to really jazz it up and actually make it like a piece of art. So there we have the progress so far. All right, you can see it's coming along nicely. All right, so the next step is to, let's see, I like to take a look at all the corners. Actually, the corners look pretty good. I like to take a look at the inside four corners just to see how those look, and everything looks pretty good. You can always clean that up later. So next I like to trim the sides, get rid of some of the excess on the sides, and I'll take my ruler, just turn my cutting board this way, and the ruler, I just like to lay it down over the edge, and any excess beyond the width of the ruler I trim off. So it's a nice fold over onto the edge. I like to keep all that paper to fully cover the sides. So we'll just do that for both sides. So anyhow, yeah, so I started this business last October, and you know, the mats have come a long way, and sales have actually come a long way as well. Really surprised myself. Really had no expectations, and as of today's date, I think we're maybe just shy of 150 sales on Etsy, and we've also sold items on some other selling platforms like Poshmark and Mercari, where we've probably sold another, I'd say probably another 30 mats. And sometimes it's just the mats by itself, what we offer, or we offer the mats sometimes in frames. So that's a good amount of our sales is the framed options. So we'll put them in gold frames. All right, so you can see the fold I've made on both sides, and I'm going to just glue each side down. But yeah, we're well over I'd say well over 200 sales. I'd say probably close to 250. We also did a big sale with the University of Virginia DC chapter, alumni chapter. That is, they purchased some of our fabric UVA mats, fabric wrapped UVA mats for their alumni board. And I made a great connection there with UVA. Graduated some time ago, but it was a great connection I made there, and we're hoping to do the same thing for some other universities in the area and maybe worldwide one day. But they were beautiful. They bought a pack of 30 and handed those out to all their board members and got some great feedback. So we're just going to try to replicate that with some other schools. Okay, but we're making some nice progress here. And again, just kind of giving you guys the inside scoop on my craftsmanship techniques. Actually, I should be using my board. I don't like to do that on my cutting surface in case I get excess glue on there. I just need to smooth it down. Use it again. Okay. All right, so there we go. Okay, so that's how we look now. All right, so now you're wondering, okay, now we have all this excess at the top. So I usually do this, I have two methods. The way I've set it up now, I'm gonna go with my first method. And I like to either use scissors or my Xacto knife to trim some of the excess off the edges manually. I'll show you both ways. I'll show you first with the Xacto and then with the scissors. You have to be very careful with the Xactos because they can cut through paper very quickly. So you can see I've just kind of trimmed the folds a little bit. So I've done that with the Xacto, and then I'll do the other size for sake of example with the scissors. Okay, so you can see we've got 4 little flaps, so now I use the Xacto to just trim that off, trim off the edge, and cut off the edges hanging. That's the trash, doesn't want to go in the trash. So, very happy with the progress for 1 year. Our sales were good. Again, coming with no expectations, but now we're going to scale a bit and try to approach some, not try to, but we're going to approach some different avenues for some bulk sales, as well as our typical kind of one-off or bundle options online. Okay, so here I'm just folding, basically making 90-degree angles with the corners of each side, okay, to look like that. Okay, and then we're going to trim that piece off, and then we'll be able to make our fold over. Okay, and we'll do that on both sides. Okay, and we'll use the Xacto to trim off this little triangle excess paper. Okay, again, when I say handcrafted, I mean truly handcrafted. Okay, so again, just trimming off these triangle pieces. Show you the first side. Okay, you can see where I've cut those off. And now we'll do the opposite side. We'll get these. Okay, then we'll make 2 folds. Then we'll apply glue 2 more times, and we'll be done. So again, I like to really crease those edges. Just apply glue to this side here. I really like to get the corner, the crease where the paper meets the the mat. Okay, let's flip that. Next time we'll film in the studio. I always like to check my corners. Sometimes I'll add a little glue there just to make sure it's nice and tight, so you can see that half so far. Alright, so putting on the finishing touches here. What I like to do is just kind of dab the corners a little. Make sure my edges and the corners are nice. Any little excess from the folds, just kind of lay down. Just nice and clean. Okay, so there we have it. All right, we started with this, and now we finished with that. Okay, and again, I don't have the paper. If you guys give me 1 second. And again, all started from that. Okay, so thank you very much for tuning in. I'll be back with more videos, and thank you so much for visiting us on Etsy. Again, Mathematic Couture. My name is Michael Green. If you ever have any questions or would like a custom order, we're happy to fulfill it for you. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys online and sending you some beautiful products. Thank you so much.